Or singing. No, no one wants to hear me sing. That's kidding. Just kidding.
Raise your hand if you want to hear Scott sing.
So funny, not funny. Thanks, Kyle. Cool. Well, looks like we have some people in now. Let's go ahead and get started. And as more people come in, they'll just kind of come in here. But great. So, hey, thanks everyone for coming to Insight Engine's webinar on natural language processing and Palo Alto Networks and how to get more value. Really quickly, just want to go over a quick agenda here. Go back one slide. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and spend 10 minutes going over the agenda, or sorry, going over welcome and introduction, not 10 minutes on the agenda. That's a little too much there. Another 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and go through the demo and show you a use case of Palo Alto Networks and how to use natural language processing with Insight Engine technologies like Investigator and how to run through a sort of investigation pretty quickly. And then we'll wrap up with 10 minutes as like a Q&A session as well. And so really quickly, before we go any further, I want to do a webinar sort of etiquette rules here. When you enter the meeting here, you will be muted. Please, please, please keep yourself on mute. We'd love to hear your beautiful voices. But to keep this in a timely fashion and keep it efficient and get out of here on time, we ask that you keep yourself on mute. However, we do want you to ask questions and ask as many questions as you possibly can. And so you'll notice if you take a few minutes, you'll see that there's a chat button on the Zoom that you've joined in. And you can go ahead and click on that. And then what you can do is actually shoot out your question that you have or comment or statement or whatever it is. We're going to actually have Sergio Campos, who is a part of, or monitoring the chat over here. And so he'll be able to respond back to you as well. We will be taking questions and answering more difficult questions as they come during the Q&A section. So if you don't get it answered right away, Sergio will let you know if we answer it later on during the Q&A section at the end. Additionally, if you ever have trouble in the dial-in and you lose audio for whatever reason, go ahead and use the Google Calendar invite. In there will be the dial-in information, or you can also find it right there as well. And just so you know, this webinar will be recorded. One last slide before we get started. Don't leave until the end, obviously. Everyone that's participating at the end of this, what we're going to do is we're going to send out a trial, or give you everyone an offer of a 6-month no-cost license of Insight Engines. And you'll get unlimited use of Insight Engines products for 6 months at no commitment with Insight Investigator and Insight Analyzer. What is Investigator? What is Analyzer? I don't know. We'll get into that here in a minute. So don't leave. And Sergio is actually going to go ahead and paste I just did right now in the chat. He went ahead and pasted the link for to claim that offer as well. So you can go ahead and follow up with that. I'll additionally send you guys out an email at the end of this with the webinar recording and the content and this link as well. Cool. Let's get started. Right on. Well, thank you guys all for attending. We're going to have more people joining in as this goes on, which is totally fine. My name's Scott Wright. I'm a part of the sales team and a lot of other things that we do over here. And I'm going to be sort of moderating this webinar. To my left, or maybe to you guys' right, depending on how the camera's coming on, we have Kyle. Kyle, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. I'm part of the support side of the house.
Absolutely. And Kyle's going to be running the technical demo portion of this. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So, you know, everyone is here most likely, I'm assuming, because you want a little bit more out of your Palo Alto Networks data. You know that it's extremely valuable. Maybe you're paying a lot of money for it. You know it's very powerful, but maybe you're not getting enough out of it. Or you might be here because you're like, what the heck's this natural language thing? Who are these guys Insight Engines? What is this thing even exist? Is that even possible? Well, you know, want to go ahead and show you how to get more data and more visibility and more value out of your Palo Alto Networks using Insight Engines technology, and how you can get more value out of it, more insights in the amount of time that it takes you to write a query, and hours you can do in minutes and seconds with our stuff. And really get more insights from our product in seconds than you've probably gotten out of your Palo Alto Networks data the entire time you've had it. So that being said, let's set the stage a little bit here. So what you're seeing here is a sentence up here at the top. Palo Alto Networks traffic yesterday versus today. Palo Alto Networks traffic yesterday versus today. Kind of easy to conceptualize and understand, right? Might be a little bit more like hard to write in terms of a Splunk query, right? As you can see down here at the bottom, but easy to sort of understand, right? And parse apart. And maybe a Splunk ninja or an expert or a domain expert of Splunk, maybe they could write this query in half a day, maybe a couple hours, or maybe a few minutes if you're a Splunk god. But for most people and a lot of junior folks, this is going to take you quite some time to write this type of query. And with the technology you're going to see today, creating queries like this doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be time consuming. With our natural language search, you simply just type in those words you see at the top, Palo Alto Networks traffic yesterday versus today, and get the SPL generated for you instantly, and get beautiful results and visualizations like this. Quite beautiful indeed. And so what you're doing is we are speeding up the amount of time for you to write that query, which would take you hours. You can now get done in seconds. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with our two flagship products that we have here, Insight Investigator and Insight Analyzer. And really these two products, Insight Investigator allows you to query your data in natural language, get results and visualizations. And Analyzer really gives you an overall understanding into what data you have, what data you're missing, what data models you have. Maybe you run a query and that query is not populating right, and you're getting errors. Well, what data models do you need, what fields do you need, what source types do you need? That's what Insight Analyzer does. It's really give you an overall understanding of what type of information and Splunk data you have going inside. Really combined with these two products here, we've been able to help organizations and multiple security teams across the land with their overall Palo Alto Networks and Splunk data as well. But we've been helping them in the technology sector, healthcare, financial services, telecommunications, Fortune 1000, federal agencies, and much, much, much more. And that being said, I want to go ahead and jump into it so I don't have to keep talking anymore. So I'll pass it over to Kyle here to go ahead and jump off the demo. Kyle, tell us a little bit about this elephant and go ahead and kick it off from here.
Yeah, well, this seems to be a good analogy for what a lot of people are facing. There's a lot of data, and we feel like we're drowning in it. You know, we all know the challenges of security. We've got these security tools that give a lot of alerts, and you can have alert fatigue, but we don't always get good insights from those alerts. A lot of these tools aren't investigative, so then you find the alert, and then you got to go and dig in many other ways. The tools don't always play well together. So with Insight Investigator, we've got something that plays well. We can accelerate these workflows. We all understand the importance of firewalls. We know the importance of network security. That's kind of a given. If we have properly implemented firewalls, we can reduce and eliminate network threats. That's a given. But if you have all this log data from your firewall, from your endpoint, and you can't investigate it, like how useful is that? So with Insight Investigator, we can investigate. So I'm going to go to our demo. And here we go. Hacker Kitty leads us to Insight Investigator. So we'll start out with something relatively simple and easy to parse in English. We're looking at Palo Alto Networks traffic.
And what you're seeing here is, the interface of Splunk. You're looking at Splunk here, but what you'll notice up there at the top is that search bar that allows you to go ahead and ask these questions in plain English as well. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we've got, from the search scope in our interface, you can tell that we're looking at PAN firewall logs, and the source type is PAN traffic. We've got the client IPs, where the traffic is coming from, going to. We see the top users generating that traffic, nice visualizations that we could dig into. Over time, we have the firewall logs and how much of that traffic is flowing through the firewall over time. And then below that, we have the data table that shows all the elements that make up these visualizations that we showed. And with this, you could dig into it and create new visualizations within core Splunk.
Nice. You know, Kyle, can you scroll up actually to the top?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you show them the events of like 192, that IP address, 192.168.02?
Yeah, and if you hover over many of our visualizations, you see that these are all actionable. You can investigate. If we're interested in this server and this IP address, we can look at the log events that are associated with 192.168.02. And so we wait a second for it to come up, and we'll have the list of log events.
Maybe it wasn't, try one more time. There we go. Hopefully. Let's see. Took a little bit there. It always is when you're in the presentation mode that it loads the slowest, huh?
So here we've got our filter. We get to do drill down queries, and you can tell, you know, maybe this event is interesting. Maybe the traffic from TNG Crusher related to what we see here is something that we want to action on. We want to investigate. So we can add it to an investigation. We can create a Splunk notable event. We can pivot on this data and dig into it as needed. So let's try something with a few more parameters. So let's keep looking at fan traffic, and let's look at it by, let's make sure we have everything we want. So we had source, we had destination, we had user, but let's look at port. Sorry there, source, destination. We'll look at user and port.
And guys, don't forget, if you have any questions at any time, go ahead and use that chat down there at the bottom, and feel free to always keep asking questions.
And as before, we have the Palo Alto Networks firewall logs. We're looking at traffic, and it's coming from the fan traffic source. We have very similar things coming up. We have source IPs, destination, some stacked, or you can change it to group visualizations. You can dig into it. We've got the destination ports now, in addition to the users that we had before. So you can tell, is this web traffic? Is this, you know, for anybody who still has an FTP server, is this mail traffic? We can dig into that and find out what's going on, where that traffic is going. And we have some nice new visualizations here that show you over time the source IPs and the amount of traffic that's flowing through them. And we have this nice stacked visualization that's showing over time the same thing. We're seeing the traffic over time by destination. And again, we see the data table that contributes to those visualizations.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, as you guys can see, there's tons of these visualizations, and they're beautiful. They're all colorful and stuff, which is fantastic. And these visualizations are getting populated because when you type in a query like Kyle did at the top, can you scroll up to the top real quick, Kyle?
Oh yeah, sure.
So when you type in that query, pan traffic by source, destination, user, and port, when you type that in, you're quite literally speaking to the insight engine, if you will. You're quite speaking to it, and we generate these beautiful graphs and visualizations for you. But maybe we don't get exactly what you're looking for. But then again, when you're doing a search like this, maybe you're not quite sure exactly what you're looking for in terms of a graph or whatnot. So what we were able to do is we actually give you the raw STL translations for each one of these visualizations at any moment in time, so that you can go ahead and port that over at any moment to Splunk Core. Can you, oh, I think you have your cursor over it, great.
Yeah.
So this is the raw STL translations for each one of those visualizations that was generated instantly, as you saw, in seconds. And at any time, you can either copy it and port it over to Splunk Core, or you hit open search in that bottom right-hand corner, and you'd be able to go ahead and open that up in Splunk Core, make any type of changes or adjustments or anything like that. But ultimately, like, we not back up our work, but our proof is in the pudding, right? And so when you take a look at this, you can go ahead and check our work if you ever so desire to be able to see that. But you'll see after like a query or two, when you start checking it, they're usually pretty right. So you'll see that will come to a short end pretty quickly. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and what we've got here is is we're talking to the Palo Alto Networks firewall data model. And if you want to do a sanity check, we can look at the SPL and see that in the tstats query, we're looking in the PAN firewall data model. And then here we can see all of the filters, all of the other elements of your SPL query in play here, and you can sanity check and build on it.
Nice. Yeah. Like, this query is good, but let's get more complex. Let's get a little bit more unique. Let's get a little weird in here. Let's do one with like across different models, data models, and using joins, and let's do a little bit more of a complex one.
Really? So more than just PAN traffic, right, Scott?
Yeah.
How about we look for a reason that we're all here? So let's look at infected systems. This is something that we're all concerned about, security and safety. I'm going to collapse this translated SPL for now. And this is a great opportunity to showcase the real power behind our product, where you're not only looking at one data model, but you're joining that data with another data model, in this case, malware. So you can see we've got malware and the PAN firewall logs data model. Now the source feeding those data models is not only from the PAN sources, PAN threat, traffic, traps, but also from in our environment, we have Cisco, we have McAfee, we have Sophos, we have Symantec.
And, you know, Kyle, let's say I'm an analyst. I'm not. I'm just, you know,
play one on TV.
Yeah, I play one on TV, and I'm just our sales guy, right? But let's say I am an analyst for a minute. Why does something like this matter to me? How does it matter to me?
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, what would prompt us to actually type this? If I'm in a security, you know, operations environment, I want to maybe periodically run this search. Maybe I'll run this as an automated search. I'll add it to a team dashboard or to my home panel where I always see this. And over time, like right now we have 4 hours, I could see changes and I could take actions on those. So we can see right now we've got, you know, we're probably, a lot of people are probably familiar with CIS top 20 critical security controls. And this investigator tool addresses, it helps us with many of these requirements. You've got continuous vulnerability management. You've got number 8, malware defense. You've got data protection. Insight Investigator addresses all of those. And there's more. So if we're looking at the total malware infections over the past 4 hours, we have this number, 561. We've got this much traffic associated with those 561 infections. And then we can look at where the traffic's coming from, like how many are associated with these IPs and how much traffic is associated, the data table below it. And I see a few interesting things in here. So Scott, what do you think about this blue bar chart? Like, what would you see as an analyst on TV?
You're like asking me? I'm not an analyst by any means, but this blue one here, right?
This blue one.
Top 20 malware. Well, that IP address up there, 192.168.0.3, that looks like a lot of malware.
Yeah, it's a big scary bar.
Yeah, and also the one at the very bottom seems like a little bit at least. Mm-hmm. What is that? What am I looking at here?
Yeah. I mean, and this is definitely something that would raise some, you know, alarms. It would raise some flags. We would say, this address, this device, this server, whatever it is, there's a lot of infections, and maybe we want to do something about it. But what about this chart to the right? You know, like if we do an ordinary search, maybe we come up with one visualization. With our product, we give you what we think you need to know based on what you're asking, the things that we find most valuable. So in this orange bar chart, you know, we're looking at traffic. Like, what do you see there that's interesting to you?
I see the malware, the 0.3 has tons there in the blue. And then I see in the orange, it doesn't have much network traffic, but then it's really interesting that the 0.6 traffic here, over here on this side here, mm-hmm. It looks like that's a little bit of traffic considering the amount of malware that's coming through here. I don't know. I'd be a terrible first day analyst. So
yeah, well, what about the big bar on the top?
Well, that one, I guess I missed that one, didn't I? So that big bar on the top, there's a lot of traffic going out from there, and there's a little bit of malware coming in. What does that mean?
And that would be something that we would say, hey, this bar's too big. Let's look at this. You know, there's something to investigate. You really hit the nail on the head. We've got a lot of infections over here, but less traffic proportionally. We've got a lot of traffic here with 0.2 in the orange, but fewer infections. So that tells me that, you know, maybe some of these infections on 0.2 with the larger number with 297, maybe they're not actively doing anything. Maybe they're just sitting on the machine and there's nothing happening that we have to immediately concern ourselves with, although we would want to investigate. With 0.2, there's a lot of traffic in the last 4 hours. So there's stuff happening, potentially, you know, information being compromised, sent out where we don't want it. We want to, something active is happening. So we would want to investigate and dig into that. And that would probably lead us into additional steps. Immediately, I would maybe isolate this machine. I would shut off its communication with whatever other machines are in that network, and then dig deeper into that. And then, you know, that would probably be the first remediation. And then I would also look at 0.3, but I would be less immediately concerned, and I would put my first resources towards 0.2.
Great. Yeah, why I said I'm not quite an analyst, you know, but I can talk to it a little bit. And, you know, with Insight Engine's Investigator, what you're taking a look at here, I mean, just seeing the sheer power of typing in a question like that and being able to get results and visualizations like this so quickly, it really has given us the ability to augment security teams to ask questions of the Palo Alto logs, but then of all data as well. So we try to curate an environment where one question leads to another, sort of. And yeah, so like it makes me wonder, like, is there another question that we can sort of do?
Yeah. Well, that would lead us into a question where we would want to know,
you know what?
Traffic by user with
Kyle,
malware.
I just see that it's coming to the time here. We might have to skip this one, but let's do the search real quick.
Let's do this real quick. And then this would lead us into the investigation.
We won't be able to cover it too much, but
sure.
We'll just
we'll let it load and we'll talk about.
Oh, you spelled traffic wrong. We're gonna go ahead and it looks like we're getting the green light. We got to switch to our slides here to do a Q&A. So we got a little tight here. Apologies. Yeah. Great. We'll jump to some questions here as well.
Sure.
Don't worry, guys. I'm going to be sending you all these queries with all the raw scale translations for each one of those. But really quickly, in conclusion, what I was saying it before, with Insight Engines, you're able to get overall visibility and be able to really get insights in minutes rather than hours. And that being said, we have a couple questions. We're going to get to them really quick. We went a little bit over, so we do apologize. And so we have our first question coming in here from Lee Archnall. He asks, does the natural language work with Microsoft Windows event logs, or is it strictly tailored to Palo Alto firewall logs?
Oh, yes. That's a really good question. And of course we do. We work with many different source types. With Windows event logs, since we leverage the Splunk common information model data models, you just have to make sure that your Windows event logs are mapped to that data model. So the appropriate data models like authentication. And if you install with many of these logs, if you install the proper technical add-on, it will do that mapping. We leverage the Splunk SIM common information data models, and it works.
Nice. And it looks like we have another question coming in here. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on too. I'd be a terrible analyst. How much data does need to be in shape to do these queries?
Yeah, well, that actually probably, I'm just going to do a quick share here. That leads us to
Analyzer.
Yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at Analyzer. So here we go. So we're still looking at Insight Investigator, and let's switch to Insight Analyzer.
Get Analyzer up.
There we go. So Insight Analyzer. We have this tool that will help us tell the health of our data models. We can look at the data model coverage. We can look at our supported data models, alerts, authentication. we can expand on this and see that the model is present, it's accelerated, it has summary data. We've got examples of the kinds of questions we can ask to leverage that data, and we see where that information is coming from that feeds into that data model. In this environment, it's very healthy. We have information about, again, the stuff that we covered, Palo Alto, network endpoint logs, and firewall logs. And based on this tool, data model coverage within Insight Analyzer, and our use case coverage, we can give you a good idea of the health of your data.
Awesome. And I think we have time for one more question, though. I'm seeing here, Lee, you have a pretty, I see your question here, the follow-up question. I don't know if we'll have enough time to answer that, but we'll definitely send you the answer over here after we're done here. But I see one from Mike that I think we can answer. That's perfectly fine. All right, cool. We see one from Mike here. He says, is there a feature request for typo handling? We could probably answer that really quickly.
Yeah. Actually, we do handle typos. So if we go back over here to our view, and I'll just do a super quick demonstration. We'll just say web traffic to China.
Your screen's not sharing, Kyle.
Let me share my screen.
And don't forget, guys, I'm also going to be, if you guys have to hop off,
there we go.
Totally fine, but don't forget to use that link to get
We'll do web traffic to China. Clearly that's a typo, but we correct it. Yeah. And we've got some nice visualizations showing geo, showing maps, and we'll see the typical stuff that we saw in the other visualizations, like how much traffic there was, the IP addresses involved, and related to the Palo Alto firewall log, we see network traffic.
Great. So that kind of wraps up. We're coming down to the last minute here. I want to go ahead and restate for everyone that showed up and joined. We do appreciate it. I'm sorry we went on a little bit longer and weren't able to cover everything, but what we're going to do, we did the Q&A portion of it. Like I said before, going back here, if you guys are still here, we're going to go ahead and send out to everyone that's here joined the ability to get an offer from Insight Engines, which is 6-month no-cost license of Insight Engines. No strings attached, guys. It's really to just get to try out our product, see what it's like, really help you guys start querying your Palo Alto Networks log data more, getting more visibility into it. And we're here to help you guys out as well in terms of installing it and whatnot. So once again, I'll send you guys out an email for everyone that attended, and doing an RSVP as well with the link to claim the software. And additionally, I'll send out one with the recording of this webinar and also all the raw SPL translations and content with everything that we covered and more. That being said, I want to say once again, thank you so much. Thank you, Kyle, for showing the demo. And thank you for everyone here at Insight Engines for putting this on. And thank you to everyone on the attendance group for showing up. And stay tuned because we're going to have a lot more webinars coming up. And that said, let's Wayne and Garth from Wayne's World are out.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
All right. We'll see you all later.
Thanks, guys.